Switching up, you mentioned something interesting to me. You said I'm an atheist and I like money. That would be my next question. Like religion, spirituality. There's a lot of people looking for that kind of stuff in our age group, especially. I mean, but we're not looking in church, like traditional churches. What are your feelings? Like the first thing that you think of when I say church, what do you think of?
I kind of have an aversion to it. I grew up in a really fundamentalist religious background. My parents took me to church all the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't put me to Christian school for 2 years. And as I started to
high school or like middle school?
Middle school.
Yeah.
As I grew up, I started to learn, some of the stuff that they're telling me just doesn't add up, And I mean, I'm an atheist not because it's the cool goth kid slit your wrist kind of thing to do, but because after reviewing all the evidence and everything, I mean, for the Bible to be true, it has to be 110% true. I mean, I could name you several examples to where it's got holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
Science doesn't claim to explain everything. It's just our attempt at understanding what's around us. But for one or two things to be wrong with something, I mean, people believe a book that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, and I think people have a need to explain what's around them. So whatever they don't know, they just kind of come up with.
Right.
And that's the sort of thing that leads to what we have today. And you have people that believe what their parents believe, what their parents believe, so on and so forth. And now you just have a lot of people that are kind of going through the motions.
Sure.
I think most people are agnostic, whether they admit it or not, whether they're sitting in a...
Now, are you saying most people like our age or most people in general?
I would think most enlightened people, like the older people, like I have the debate with my parents and everything, and they kind of shy away from evidence and science and everything, and they say, well, all that's garbage and everything.
Why do you think that is?
I think once you live your life so long and you're into your routine, you're set in your ways, and you have your own beliefs, anything that challenges that, you're just uncomfortable with. So you look for any way to rationalize the irrational, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier for people that are our age because our minds aren't molded like that yet.
Yeah.
We can, weigh the evidence back and forth and say, okay, well, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And you just kind of go back and forth and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
And of the people that I know in my age group, most of them, they're either agnostics or atheists. Very few of them are hardcore fundamentalist Christians, Muslims, anything.
Right.
Just because there's so much more knowledge out there now than we had even 50 years ago, when the last couple generations were coming up.
So you think this age of information and enlightenment, so to speak, has perpetuated a challenging of the norms as far as religion goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think over the next couple generations, there's going to be a bit of a revolution there, where concrete evidence and things that you can see in front of you are going to be a lot more prevalent than superstition and tradition.
Right.
A lot of what you see handed down is just things that have evolved over the years, just from word of mouth. I mean, it's hard to believe that the sacred book has been handed down over generation after generation. I mean, they didn't even have printing presses 200-300 years ago, whatever it was. And they're sorry. But they have all that's been handed down, handwritten, most of it, all through the Middle Ages. I mean, you ever play that game in kindergarten where someone starts out with a phrase and they whisper it to the next person? It doesn't make
Telephone.
Yeah. It doesn't make it through 40 people around the room.
Right.
How are you going to make it for 1,000 years? From the fall of the Roman Empire to what we have as modern canonized Christianity.
Yeah. I have this thought that we're the most marketed generation in the history of the world. We've been from, Ronald McDonald, when he was invented in the 1960s, get the kids. It's like what Adolf Hitler said, I think it was. Adolf Hitler, get the kids, get the generation. And I'm not saying McDonald's is Hitler, but we have definitely been the most marketed to generation, and I think we're sick of empty promises. I think we're sick of like these here's the 10 steps to make you feel better or whatever.
Right.
And I definitely agree with what you're saying as far as we need, give me something real. Show me something that is black and white, and I think it's hard for religion to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's where faith comes in, and that's a whole different subject. But
right, and that's if I was trying to control a group of people, and make them do what I wanted to do, and you got to understand that most of what we have today comes from the Roman Catholic Church, which was the most powerful entity after the fall of the Roman Empire. Right. It was about money and power, and they indoctrinated all these people. You have all these Protestants that say they go back to the original church. Well, the original church was gone for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the Roman Catholics came along, and then people didn't like what they were saying, and they started changing the rules.
Right.
So, you have all that. But if I was trying to control a group of people, I would say, okay, this is a book. God told me to write it, and questioning it is wrong, and if you question it, you're going to go to hell. And to the people that aren't educated enough to know better, that's an easy way to control them.
Yeah.
And, you can believe in the tooth fairy all you want, but doesn't make her real.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing.
Cool. Appreciate your time.
Hey, no problem.